You are being watched. The government has a secret system, a machine. It spies on you every hour of every day.
You put up one hell of a fight!
Well, good evening, my acolytes of academia. I'm here with a rather insightful and encouraging video for you today. I think you've got the wrong video, people. Well, I hope you're all doing well today, folks. And if you're living in the UK, I hope you survived Hurricane Eunice, or as I like to call her, Eunice, love, because really it kind of went in, it went out, it shook it all about, and it left a bit of debris on the roads here and there. It has messed up my hair a little bit, but apart from that, I'm here in the comfort of my man cave talking to you about this article regarding CEO Susan Wojcicki and the censorship of YouTube. Now, I will say this much. I have glanced through this article, but I did one better, ladies and gentlemen. I watched the entire 46-minute video, and I will talk about it and address some points that are made here. Now, to be fair to Bounding Into Comics, they did a pretty good breakdown of what the interview entailed. But like I said, I've actually watched it. So if we go over to the video itself, and then we got Susie, baby, looking rather glam, don't you think? Oh, Susie, stop it. My God. I tell you what, I would actually like to hang out with Miss Wojcicki for the day. You know, shoot some pool, maybe go to a nice fancy restaurant on her credit card, and maybe go watch a movie. I don't know what Susie's into, or maybe she might be into heavy metal music or some death metal. Yes, so this is courtesy of Tide TV Hamburg in Germany. The Conversation series. This is part 1, by the way. Insights and Power. Internet scientists meet platform decision makers. And yes, the first guest of this episode, of course, is Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube. Don't you know? She is worth currently, at the time of making this video, $815 million / pounds, depending on what you like to convert your currency calculator to. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it in at about the 8-minute mark. And yes, I have actually watched this video, and it's really quite funny because one of the things they talk about is the misinformation that is peppered around YouTube, especially of the word that begins with C and ends with D. But when that word pops up here with subtitles, you get some really hilarious translations like Covet, Kobe, like Mr. Bryant, and Kofet, spelt with a K instead of a C. So I thought that was actually pretty funny. But let me just get to this. I think it's around here.
So definitely when the pandemic hit, we realized that we were going to have to send a lot of our human reviewers home. We have human reviewers around the globe, and we do that on purpose to make sure that we can respond to any kind of event, and we're not dependent upon any one location going down. But with something like the pandemic, we had so many people, for example, that would be unable to do their work at home, or it wouldn't be it just wouldn't be possible. So we actually, within a couple of weeks, we actually built a system to move 100% to machines.
Right, I want to stop this video right here. So very interesting what Susie says. You know, when the pandemic struck, they had to roll out the machines, but these machines have been preparing for this sort of catastrophe, like it was waiting, that like they're almost waiting for it to happen. You got to think about, now put it this way, okay? Person of interest, all right? If you saw that show with Jim Caviezel and Michael Emerson, that was a fan. And yeah, I know it's a Jar Jar Abrams show, but I just think he was like a producer or an executive producer. Basically, he stayed out of the way like he's supposed to. But what I really liked about that show is that you had the machine, okay? Now there was like a Pink Floyd reference to the machine as well. But it's basically this master computer that can predict when crimes are about to happen. And obviously through a person's use of the internet, the machine will be able to pinpoint what the crime is about to take place. And the machine itself it became more sentient as the seasons grew more in popularity. But it's also benevolent force. And to counteract this, we had the malevolent force in the guise of Samaritan. Okay, so this was the other artificial intelligence that wanted to upset the US infrastructure and destabilize the economical climate of the USA while trying to get rid of the machine. So you had those two opposing forces. Now, the reason why I mentioned person of interest in relation to YouTube, because the way I see it at the moment, YouTube is the machine and Samaritan is basically us, content creators. That's how I see it. And the reason why I say that, because we're pushing back against what the machine sometimes forces us to do, or try to get us in line. The one thing about this video that was very interesting is that they talk about compliancy a lot, and it's something that, look, I've kind of worked with people who make policy decisions. I've done that in the past, 2015, as far back as then, and look, I'll get into that in a second, but yeah, if you kind of take person of interest as a sort of a pop cultural reference to what's happening now, I don't think you're too hard pressed to disagree with me on that one. Yeah, there was this really weird thing that Susie mentioned about Anthony Fauci, because we all love that guy, don't we? And how he met with rappers about how to deal with the couth, which I thought was bizarre. Like, didn't Fauci have time to meet heavy metal singers or John Bon Jovi? I mean, what's wrong with those people? But that's so bizarre. What a strange thing to come out with. So, going to this professor right here, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Schultz. He's a pretty cool dude, actually. I liked his input into this topical conversation, because what he was saying to Susie and Dr. Matthias Ketterman is that he's not a fan of the regulatory proposals that are being made currently about the platform of YouTube, and even more insightful from this dude right here, somebody else I like to go for, a German bear tool of Hofmeister. But I would say that what he had to say was really interesting, because it was more to do with the fact that it's the legal aspect of it all. Like, yeah, sure, you're currently keeping an eye on things like counterterrorism, extremism, harm against children. That's all fair enough, and that's all worthwhile. But as English is always, the English language is always a never-ending, what should I say? It just never stops changing. Like every week or every month, there's a new catchphrase. The Urban or the Oxford English dictionaries have to be updated in light of something that trends quite a lot now. And how are you going to keep up with policing not the internet, YouTube? How are you going to police that? Because basically what he's saying is, as well-intentioned as Susan Wojcicki's her ambitions are to actually get to enforce, to pass policies on, or to get governments to start actioning policies that will keep a closer eye on what's been said on YouTube. And that I think that the whole point about the legalities coming to it. Susan Wojcicki said herself that every week she's meeting with a politician or a representative from a particular business or a platform or a channel from YouTube, and it's hard for her to kind of keep up with what's going on. Susan even herself said that with copyright law, she still finds it very complex on what is the pros and cons of what copyright, how we can use it on our channels. I think Susie baby just has bitten off way much more than she can chew. That's what I think personally.
For online speech is to pass laws, to have that be very cleanly, and if we're not generating fitting society.
Now, this is the point where Susie baby gets a bit contentious in what she wants to do going forward with YouTube. I understand why some of my fellow content creators jumped the gun and made their videos with really clickbaity headlines, but I've got a viewpoint on this, so let's go.
No advertiser's going to want to appear on that, and they're certainly not going to even want to appear on a different content that is positive if they think the platform as a whole is not being responsible. So we are generally very aligned. Like, responsibility is good for our business. And we
Like removing the dislike
we have
button.
Over 2 million creators on our platform that we share revenue with. So if we're not generating revenue for them.
Yeah, from what I've been told by certain content creators, the actual share between YouTube and them, it's not great.
Then that's a problem for our creators. They create beautiful and incredible content, and we share the majority of revenue with them. So so basically that's like, so I think governments can always, our recommendation, if governments want to have more control over online speech, is to pass laws to have that be very cleanly and clearly defined such that we can implement it. There are times that we see the laws being implemented or being suggested that they're not necessarily clean or possible for us to cleanly interpret them. And we've also seen sometimes there's laws passed just for the internet as opposed to for all speech.
Susie. There is a reason, my fellow American viewers, why your country has not had its first female American president. Because once they're on the platform, the podium, what do you think they're going to say? It will be absolute bonkers that comes out of their mouths. And of course, we do know when we do get a first female president, her male counterparts would have equally made irrational, stupid decisions. Susan Wojcicki, she's not a politician, she is a businesswoman, okay? She might have some sway with politicians. Do you think politicians and governments around the world are going to take the time to sit down, decide how to govern what you can and cannot say on YouTube? That's a mammoth task. How are you going to do that? You're going to have to hire specialists, university graduates, you have to go to form new departments within the shell of your government organization to get the ball rolling. If you want to implement one policy for one key area of YouTube, so say for example, I'm a commentator on entertainment, how bad it is at the moment, and will continue to get really bad after this video, they might devise a policy and that you can't attack a certain personality who's got a worse take than you do, something along those lines. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that because the next time somebody's going to find a different way to implement or to convey their point on a YouTube channel. Do you know what I mean? So it's impossible to say it's one rule for this particular line of defense, but you can't do it. But then they're going to have a logistical nightmare. And Susan Wojcicki herself said in his video that the ramifications, the legalities of getting this all together it's kind of infinite. That's the impression I get. It's pretty much an infinite goal because if trends are going to keep changing all the time in terms of what we say on YouTube and what's acceptable. Now, the reason why I think a lot of YouTube content creators are getting itchy pants at the moment is because they probably they feel under threat. They've been doing this for a long time. I've not been doing that a long time, maybe just over 2 years. So I'm still a rookie. I'm still a honeymooner, and I'm enjoying it at the moment. I'm aware of the things like the adpocalypse and everything else like that. But in terms of the grand scale of things, I don't think there's going to be a sudden censorship of what can or cannot be said. I find the timing of this video very interesting because remember, Lord of the Rings of Power, that thing on Amazon, big tech company. Well, can you call it big tech company? Maybe. But you got Amazon, you got CNN, you got Fox. They've got their own YouTube platforms, which I think they shouldn't because YouTube is for people like you and me. But those particular networks get attacked constantly by people who don't like their point of view and things. And I guess when Susan Wojcicki's talking about they want to have government to police what's going on YouTube, it's not going to work. It really isn't. I think these companies like CNN and Fox, they want to be more protected. At the moment, they don't feel like they're doing that. And again, that kind of destabilizes the right of speech, the fairness compared to what is the only point of view you can accept. I don't go for any of that. So I recommend this video, folks. I do. That's me slapping my keyboard again. Was it entertaining? it was insightful. I mean, entertaining is like a night at Spearmint Rhino for me, but this was a pretty good video. And I think, you know, when I watched it all, Susan Wojcicki kind of got a little bit caught off guard, maybe more than once, by the professors, because let's face it, she was up against two professores who are data scientists. That's their job, or as part of what they do. And yeah, that's all I have to say now, well, folks. It was a good watch for a Friday evening. I mean, I'm going to go back to watching Quantum Leap Season 1, the second half of my Blu-ray disc collection. So if you enjoyed this video today, folks, do me a massive favor, maybe put your sexy spectacles on and hit that subscribe button. Better yet, like this video, share it wherever you can, and if I were you, I'll see me on my next video.
Why did this happen?
Like and subscribe, or get your nuts Krogan crushed.
Didn't work out the way you thought, did it?